Don't look back because the darkest corner of your consciousness might be breathing down your neck right now. If you're ready, let me tell you just how perfectly ordered madness can be. For most people, home is a safe space where they shed the exhaustion of the day, a sanctuary. But for Ethan, this apartment was no refuge. It was a battlefield governed by millimeter-perfect calculations. Outside was filled with mistakes, uneven sidewalks, people colliding, and unpredictable chaos. But here in apartment 404, everything had a place, an angle, and a logic. Ethan hadn't stepped outside this door for 5 years. Doctors called it agoraphobia, the fear of open spaces. For Ethan, this wasn't an illness. It was a necessary defense shield he had built to survive. His days were spent following strict rules whispered by his obsessive-compulsive disorder. Waking at precisely 7, straightening his bed corners to 90 degrees, brushing his teeth for exactly 120 seconds, and washing his hands 3 times if he touched the soap dish. Or else that cursed inner voice told him that horrible things would happen to his loved ones. His only window to the world in this sterile and isolated existence was the tiny hole he carved into the living room curtains. He spent most of his time staring through that hole at the apartment across the street, particularly apartment 405. The old woman who had lived there was a walking monument to chaos, with crooked curtains, cluttered tables, and careless habits. Watching her made Ethan's stomach twist, as if he were witnessing the universe's disorder in human form. Then one day she disappeared, and the apartment stood empty. Ethan felt relief for the first time, but that relief ended the night the new tenant arrived. The newcomer was tall and broad-shouldered, his face always hidden in shadow. But it was his behavior, not his appearance, that unsettled Ethan. From the moment he entered, the meticulous way he unpacked caught Ethan's eye. He arranged his books by height, hung his jacket at the exact same angle Ethan used, and kept only 1 plate, 1 fork, and 1 knife on his table. At first, Ethan was captivated, as if the universe had finally sent him a kindred spirit who understood the sacredness of order. He watched the man through his binoculars for hours, comforted by seeing his own disciplined routines reflected back at him. But admiration turned into suspicion, and suspicion into cold dread. This wasn't similarity. The man was copying him. When Ethan turned on his light at 7, the man did the same. When Ethan drank coffee, the man drank at the exact same moment. When Ethan went to bed, the man lay down at the same millisecond. It was a synchronization that should have been impossible. Ethan's mental balance began to crack. Was the man watching him? Mocking him? Ethan remembered Capgras syndrome, the delusion in which people believe their loved ones or themselves have been replaced by imposters. But this wasn't a book. This was Ethan's reality. The man across the street seemed less like a person and more like an echo, a mimic, a thief stealing Ethan's identity. As paranoia consumed him, Ethan's perfect order collapsed. Dust remained on the floor. Rituals faltered. He couldn't pull himself away from the peephole. One night, he decided to test the horrible game. He stood in his living room and suddenly raised his right hand. When he looked through the binoculars, he froze. The man across the street had raised his right hand at the exact same moment, staring directly at him. Ethan lowered his hand and the man lowered his. It felt like a puppet show, but he no longer knew who was the puppeteer. Ethan felt himself fading, becoming ghost-like, while the thing across the street grew more solid. Then came the final blow. On the man's perfectly arranged table sat a small red metal car, a 1967 Chevrolet Impala. Ethan's most cherished possession. The one whose left wheel he had broken as a child, the one he carved his initial into with a pocket knife, the one he kept locked in a steel safe under his bed for years. Ethan ran to the safe, entered the code with trembling hands, and opened it. Empty. The man hadn't just copied him. He had entered his sanctuary and stolen a part of him. Something in Ethan snapped. Fear evaporated, replaced by primal rage. Ignoring the screams of his agoraphobia, he grabbed a heavy silver candlestick, unlocked the door he had avoided for years, and stepped into the cold hallway. The corridor felt like it stretched forever as he walked toward apartment 405. The door was slightly open. From inside, he heard a familiar sound. Tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. Ethan inhaled deeply, raised the candlestick, kicked the door open, and shouted, "You imposter there! Game is over!" But inside there was no room, no furniture, no thief. Only an endless dark void. No walls, no floor, no windows. In the center sat the red toy car. Opposite it stood a massive frameless mirror rising from floor to ceiling. Ethan froze as the candlestick slipped from his hand without a sound. Drawn forward, he stepped toward the mirror. His reflection stepped toward him. Ethan cried. The reflection cried. When they were a breath apart, he placed his hand on the ice-cold surface. The reflection did the same. And Ethan realized that what he had feared all these years wasn't outside. It had always lived inside him. "Who are you?" he whispered. The reflection slowly lowered its hands while Ethan's stayed stuck to the glass. A cold, mocking smile spread across its face, a smile Ethan had never seen before. He tried to pull away but couldn't. The reflection stared into his eyes and spoke directly inside his mind. "I am not the imposter, Ethan. I am the original. You are the cowardly and sick excess trying to live my life. And now it is my turn to go outside." The reflection reached through the mirror, its hand gripping Ethan's throat. He struggled, but it was useless. It dragged him into the darkness behind the glass. In his final moment, Ethan saw his own apartment from the wrong side of the mirror. The universe loves symmetry, but sometimes one side must disappear to maintain balance. Ethan became a victim of the order he worshipped, lost in the labyrinth of his own mind. Now, apartment 404 is silent. Apartment 405 is empty. And you, yes you, when you go to the bathroom and look into the mirror, be careful. When you blink, are you absolutely sure your reflection blinks too? Or is it waiting for the moment you are distracted, waiting for its turn?